I wanted to go ahead and talk in this video about how to manage your inventory and make sure that the things that you have added to your character sheet are showing up accurately. So let's go over here to manage inventory, and let's imagine that we have found a +1 longsword in some of our loot that we've uncovered from this dungeon. When people type in on this screen here, not longsword. When people type into this screen here, they pull up a search result from all of the possible loot that I have bought across all the different books that are available. So there are things in here that aren't even in the module at all. There are things in here that I'll be honest with you could play D&D for 30 years and probably never see. And people sometimes go through when they start looking at these because they're interested and they're curious. I strongly, strongly, strongly encourage you not to do that. If you go through here and you start treating this like a shopping list, it's very likely that you're going to get your feelings hurt when these things don't show up because you're going to start wanting them in a way that you didn't even realize you could because you didn't know they existed. So try to only go to this filter tab when you are specifically looking for something that your DM is telling you to go find. Once you type in longsword, two different longswords are going to pop up that we could care about. The longsword up here is one of them, and then the longsword +1 down here is the other. If you compare these two to each other, you can see that the longsword +1 is green, indicating that it is magical, but of the lowest rarity of magic item that you can get. So if I go ahead and add that to my inventory, it's going to ask me where I'd like to put it. I think it will go best in my equipment. If it was in my chest that I'm getting as a failed merchant, I would have a hard time pulling it out in combat, and it's a little long for my pouch. So I click equipment. It'll show up over here, and I'm going to go to my actions and get ready to use it. But just like we talked about in that other video, this longsword is the longsword that I had before. I need to go back to my inventory and click active to make this longsword mine. A good rule of thumb on magical items is to check if they require attunement. So as I click on this, I don't see any requirement for attunement, but another way that I can be double sure is I can scroll down to the bottom where D&D Beyond allows you to see your 3 attunement slots. Everyone is able to have 3 attunement slots and no more, unless you're an artificer and you do weird shit. Knick-knack, I'm looking at you. If this thing required attunement and you had it marked as an active item, it will show up over here. Since it does not require attunement, even though it's active, it is not going to be listed here, but I've marked it active. So now when I go back to my actions, both of these things are listed. In a previous video, I also talked about the benefit of not having gone through here and immediately unchecked my other longsword, because it's possible that I will want to use that longsword and another longsword. Maybe I'm a crazy dual wielder or whatever, or it's just nice to know that I have these available for me in my actions when the DM is like, hey, it's your turn. What do you do? I don't know what scenario you'd want to use your longsword over your +1 longsword, but keeping these things here allows you to compare the different stuff. A +1 longsword is going to give you +1 on attack and on these damage rolls. You see these +1s versus +2s. And as I roll it, I just roll it just like normal with my other stuff. But let's now look at something that requires attunement and go through it. So I'm going to imagine that Testy McBessie has found himself a Staff of Power, which is a pretty freaking high level mage item, generally speaking. I don't even know that he can attune to it, but we're going to just send this for now. So if I click Staff of Power here and I go down, it'll show up here. And once I click attuned, I will start gaining the benefits of it. So if this item gives you bonuses to your AC or bonuses to your, I believe this one does. Yes, if you look at my armor here and you look at some of these scores over here, they're going to change as soon as I mark that I have attuned to it. I have a +2 on all of my saves. I have a +2 on my AC. I have all this good stuff coming that I did not have when I was just carrying it around. I could swing the staff at things, but I couldn't use the charges and I couldn't do any of the other stuff with it. So if I go back over to the actions page now that I have this item here and I click on it, I can see the charges are up here and the things that I can do with it are listed by charge level all the way through here. It gives a full description of the spell. It tells me what happens if I'm this far away and I do this and I do that and all that good stuff. But basically, what you really need to know is that once I have the staff up, if I don't attune to it, I'm not going to gain the benefits from it. The last thing that we have to worry about with inventory is when we find weird shit that D&D Beyond does not have in it. If I give you a curly hair out of a pony's mane and you just feel super attached to it, it's very important to you that you keep that curly hair. Surprise, surprise, there are no curly hairs in the directory. But if you go to add custom item here and you click the drop down, it will pop up an ability for you to just go through and fill out what you need in this item. So I'm going to call this the curly pony hair. I'm going to say that this came from the mane of a pony. I'm going to say that its weight is basically negligible. Its cost is priceless to me, so I'm going to mark it as a whole 10 gold pieces. And down here, I'm going to leave my description alone. I only stole one hair out of this pony's mane, but when I hit add item, I'm going to throw that in my chest. When I go down through here and I'm looking at my equipment, it's not going to show up. But as I scroll down, I'll have my curly pony hair here. It'll tell me it came from the mane of a pony. And then I can customize it further later if I feel so. And I can add blah, blah, blah here. Whatever. We're going to leave a double L in blah. And when I go back to my curly pony hair, it will show up in the notes here. I hope that that's been helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know.